I want you all to imagine that you work in an organization that's one of many across a very vast and obscure bureaucracy. Now, imagine also that your organization's culture is different than mine, and there might be some trust issues between our organizations due to lack of resources, competing for resources. And there is, on top of that, there is a legal requirement that we can't always share what we know with each other in various pockets. So to make that legal requirement fulfilled, let's go ahead and break up all of our computers into separate internet, separate networks, completely isolated from each other. Now, within some of those networks, there are some social networking tools that have been deployed, but a small proportion of the population uses those tools. The majority still use point-to-point email and telephone to communicate. You might be asking yourself, what kind of bureaucracy is this? What kind of screwed up situation is that? Folks, I've just described the collective intelligence state right now with the Department of Defense. So we need to be able to help it. I'm Jonesy, Chris Jones. I work as a member of a small team of heretics within the Department of Defense that are focused on social collaboration as a profession, helping people to collaborate socially through the social networks. Our mission is to help the Department of Defense do its mission better, to exchange knowledge faster, make decisions in time to make a difference to protect the country. Here's the type of things we work on. Everything from emergencies, where information and knowledge and exchange must be within seconds to minutes. And these are about saving lives. These are lives in danger. Must exchange information right now. Thousands of people working across chat rooms, mostly chat rooms we're talking about here, across all these networks to be able to attend to these emergencies. We also have disaster assistance, natural disasters, humanitarian relief, any mission you can imagine, all the way up to analysis and geopolitical discussions. We have to come to agreement. 20,000 chat rooms, several 100,000 participants in chat rooms if you include email and everything else. A captive audience of Homo sapiens. They're working in a very dynamic, very fast-changing world. We've been doing this for about 10 to 12 years. And over those years, we've learned hard knocks how to do this. We are not academia. We don't know exactly what we're doing. I'll get to that in a second. But as we went along, we realized it's good to have people who can stir the drink, get the social collaboration going between pockets of chat rooms, topically oriented, organizationally oriented, stovepipes we call them. These are people who are facilitating the social interaction, helping others discover each other. Discovery is huge. What you didn't know, the person you know you need to work with, how do you know that they're there? Because they're in a separate chat room. They work in a different world than you do. So these are folks living across the top of our human network that are helping people to discover each other, to work quickly and exchange information. Our goal is to accelerate the knowledge exchange because people don't naturally do it really well. We teach our folks mechanics of how to do things. Email, make a phone call, write a memo, publish a report. But we don't teach anybody in our world the behavior of how to do things socially. So it takes facilitators to go into these spaces where somebody might log in and have no idea what they're doing, and they're coming in and they're just sitting there quietly. They are the golden person who has the information for the room, but no one knows it because they're not saying anything. So facilitators help them with the conversation. Ask that question that needs to be asked. If there's somebody over here working on a topic that's related to this topic over here, move the information and better yet introduce the people so they can discover each other for the future. So we discovered this accelerates the entire social network across the DoD. Now, here's our problem, our puzzle, is that we know we have knowledge in what we do, but we don't have knowledge of what we do. We're too busy doing it. Every single day is a crisis. Being able to invite ourselves in here and break away from things is a break. But we need knowledge of what we're doing in the form of academic backup. We need to be able to put it in words that articulate it to our higher command and others because we want to make this a bigger deal across our DoD because we want to help the country and protect the country and work better together. So we need help. Help with analysis because we have a very interesting bunch of lab rats. It's not the public per se. It's a large amount of private people working together You can trust them in the fact that they're on your networks and working with you. You can assume that they're trustworthy. They're trying to do good things too. But how they interact can be applied to other realms. So we're going to trade. We have knowledge in what we do. We're going to trade all the lessons learned, what we've learned along the way, and what we're looking for feedback is, you guys are doing this. This is what we call it in the CI community. And here's some people who have done this and researched this for 10 years. Go get them. But we'll trade what we've learned. Because this is kind of unique. But we have a dynamic and complex network that you can ask questions about and interact with that says, what would happen if all the people did this? How does it change when you do that? So that's the kind of trade relationship we're hoping to set up. And we're open for questions. Anybody have any questions about what we do? Thank you. None? I was expecting some arrows. There we go. In our bureaucracy, who you work for and information is golden. If in the old days you were told to communicate with somebody else, you were assigned that communication. And when you joined that communication, be it the old-fashioned radio, I'm going to go way back, there was, we call it command and control ways of communicating, where only you can speak and these people cannot speak. So there's a hierarchy to communication. So that is different because we're saying everyone's on an equal playing field. A young soldier and a four-star general are in chat together, talking Frank to Fred. So that is very different for us. Also, this psychosocial way we look at the way things are done is very alien to our very technical, very by-the-book world. So if you can't buy it with a multiple millions and billions of dollars, it's not worth it. What we're trying to tell our folks is, hey, there is a psychological thing happening here that we can actually capitalize on. And they say, how much does it cost? And we say, well, it's only a few dollars. Well, never mind, it's not important enough. So what we're trying to say is, those are kinds of the ways we look at things, is get the power of the people together to do the good things, and don't try to overbuild it. That's kind of like we're a little bit on the edge. Yes, sir.
So, in theory at least, the Department of Defense is good at hierarchy. Mm-hmm. The nice thing about hierarchy is it scales. Mm-hmm. The difficulty with point-to-point social networks is they don't. Mm-hmm. A lot of the research here is trying to figure out how it does scale. What has been your experience at trying to move that balance? What, does it depend on different tasks? Is one more appropriate, or what have you learned there?
And we need to find point-to-point. We have two different types of interaction. A lot of people think of instant messaging, where a lot of my efforts can be spent to talk to you. We are encouragers of group chat, where topics are out there. You need to discover them and join yourself in. So that's a little bit different, the structure by which it's working. It's scaled to 20,000 rooms just by people not exactly knowing what they're doing, and they're just going to create their own pockets of information, not knowing that, gee, there is already a room for that. So the scaling is going to happen, but we do several things. We have a couple of chat rooms that are focused on anything in the world, doesn't matter what the topic or who you're about. It's a situational awareness space. We call that the Walmart. Then we have several boutiques that might spawn off of that says, given that world situation, there's a sub-pocket that is more specialized to certain people. You guys go off and you now go ahead and create yourself a space, and we'll know that that exists. So it's almost an informal hierarchy of topics. Everything on the planet down to subtopics by region or whatever conflict or whatever, and it kind of breaks itself down. And then they can evaporate should the event go away. So it's kind of self-regulating in that aspect. What we ask folks is be willing to discover and know how to discover the different spaces. And you're not going to get all 20,000. But through time, you're going to be able to find the people and the topics that you need to get your work done. You got to bring it too, so you can trade information and knowledge.
What percentage of participation are you experiencing?
Across the entire DoD, how many people do this? Probably less than 10% at best. Because mainly it's awareness that it's valuable. If you haven't seen it before and working, you don't know that it's what's there and how to work it. And sometimes people come into these networks and they're kind of like, I have no idea where I just arrived. This is useless, I'm out of here. But if you have a facilitator that says, what are you after? I'm going to show you where to go. So it's growing, but it's definitely an undercurrent, a sub-community within the DoD of the heretics that get to know what this is about, and they just work together. So it's cross-agency.
How many facilitators do you have?
7. I'm the only techie. I'm the tech facilitator, so I help people from submarines to anywhere in some office building to get onto the net and to get connected in a social space because they just don't know how the tools work. I'm the button guy. Whereas the rest are all about the conversation, to know what needs to be asked, and no one's asking it, and they get the things going. So that's how we kind of balance that out. I'm not taking too much time.
I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I hope that's okay. One is with respect to this last thing, and I think it's to the community, not just you. I'm not sure what the objective should be about what percentage. I mean, 10% is a pretty good number. In academia, it's not necessarily much more than that.
We're not looking to affect the
overworked.
whole thing now, but we do have a large number of people.
So yeah, so getting the right proportion, I think it's a really interesting question. How many people should be spending their time keeping up on Twitter? It's a very interesting question because there are other communication.
It's leveraged effect because we say that not 100% of our population or any population needs to be in these nets. We call it the radio man concept. If you have an office of 100 people, not all 100 need to be in these social nets because they're not going to do any work.
Yeah.
See, they're so
Exactly.
occupied.
You need-
Take 2 or 3, and they're your radio man in and out of the net. And that's the best construct we've had. So ideally, you should probably tap out at maybe 15% to 20 across an entire organization. And because if everyone was doing collaboration, all work stops.
Yeah.
But those who do choose to collaborate, they're both working and collaborating. And then there's this really small set that do nothing but the collaboration side.
And the other question is, given that you're the tech advisor, why is your Twitter account protected?
Oh, it is? Well, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't use Twitter
I wondered
except
if
for
that was
input.
policy or what. Okay.
Oh, no. Twitter was what we were asked for, but I live mostly on Google+. So
Okay, all right.
It's one of those Twitter, Google+ things. Sorry, ma'am. Go ahead.